Russia and Niger have been developing stronger ties in recent years, with various areas of cooperation and collaboration. The possible effects of the connection between these two countries on regional dynamics and international geopolitics have drawn attention to it. Russia and Niger have been collaborating in several areas, such as energy, infrastructure development, and defense. Increases in joint exercises, military equipment exchanges, and military training programs have all resulted from the two countries' defense collaboration. The objective of this partnership is to improve Niger's security capacities and tackle shared security issues within the area. Concerns concerning the intentions and ramifications of this cooperation have been brought up by the expanding alliance between Russia and Niger. Certain observers contend that Russia's involvement in Niger is a component of its wider approach to enhance its sway in Africa and offset the impact of Western nations. Others highlight the strategic and economic goals, such as access to new markets and natural resources, that motivate this cooperation. In a recent turnout of events, Russian President Vladimir Putin and General Abdurrahman Chiani, the head of Niger's military administration, spoke over the phone about strengthening security cooperation. This call was not just a chat, it was a signal of changing winds in the vast Sahel region, a place where battles aren't just fought on the ground, but in the corridors of power across the globe. Niger, a country that once stood side by side with Western powers, now seems to be looking towards Russia, marking a significant shift in its international alliances. Why does this matter, and what does it mean for the future of the region and beyond? Stick around, and by the end of this video, you'll see how a single phone call can redraw the geopolitical map and why everyone, from Washington to Paris, is paying close attention. Niger found itself caught in the crosshairs of Western powers for decades, driven by their own interests. France, the former colonial ruler, maintained a major military footprint under the guise of combating terrorism across the vast Sahel region. Thousands of French troops fanned out, conducting operations to crush militant groups plaguing Niger and its neighbors. This growing relationship between Niger and Russia speaks volumes about the changing dynamics in global alliances. It's not just about military might, it's about sending a message. And the people of Niger are amplifying this message loud and clear. Streets in Niger have echoed with voices chanting "Down with France," a slogan that cuts deep into the historical ties binding Niger and its former colonial master. These demonstrations aren't just protests, they're a declaration of Niger's quest for sovereignty, a bold step towards deciding its fate without the overbearing influence of former colonial powers. General Abdurrahman Chiani and Russian President Vladimir Putin picked up the phone and dove into talks about strengthening security cooperation. Niger and Russia have agreed to strengthen their military ties in various ways. One aspect is the potential for arms deals, where Niger will receive weapons and military equipment from Russia to bolster its armed forces. There are also plans for Russian instructors to provide training to Nigerian soldiers, enhancing their combat capabilities and operational readiness. The deployment of Russian private military contractors, notably the notorious Wagner Group, is also a possibility. These mercenary forces could be stationed in Niger to assist in counterterrorism operations or provide security for Russian interests in the country. Intelligence sharing between the two nations is on the table, facilitating cooperation in areas such as identifying and monitoring terrorist threats. Niger is grappling with poverty and instability and has embraced Russia as a new defense partner after its fallout with long-standing Western ally France. The circumstances leading to this shift involve the expulsion of French troops from Niger in December 2023, following a military coup that ousted the democratically elected president Mohamed Bazoum in July 2023. The military government, led by General Abdurrahman Chiani, swiftly denounced existing security agreements with Paris and demanded the withdrawal of approximately 1,500 French soldiers who had been stationed in Niger to combat jihadist groups in the Sahel region. This move signaled a decisive break from the country's historical ties with its former colonial power and paved the way for closer cooperation with Russia. Beyond the military realm, Niger and Russia have discussed broader multi-sector and global strategic cooperation. This encompasses various areas, including energy, mining, and infrastructure development projects. Russia's overtures in these sectors indicate its efforts to expand its influence and economic footprint in Africa, leveraging Niger's natural resources and development needs. Russia may seek opportunities to participate in infrastructure projects in Niger, such as the construction of roads, railways, or public buildings. These initiatives not only generate economic benefits, but also serve as avenues for deepening political and cultural ties between the two nations. Bear in mind that a high-level Russian delegation visited Niger, led by Colonel General Yunus Bekyeferov, the Russian Deputy Defense Minister. This visit carried significant weight and marked a crucial milestone in the deepening ties between the two nations. The presence of such a senior Russian official signaled Moscow's keen interest in strengthening its influence in Niger and the broader Sahel region. Discussions centered around enhancing cooperation in the defense sector during the visit. The Nigerian government announced the signing of a protocol aimed at strengthening cooperation in the field of defense with Russia. However, the specific details of this protocol remain undisclosed, shrouded in secrecy. Speculations suggest that the agreement could pave the way for increased military aid, joint exercises, and the potential deployment of Russian advisors or private military contractors to Niger. Moreover, Colonel General Yevkurov held talks with General Salif al-Mahdi, Niger's defense minister, widely regarded as the country's second-in-command after the military ruler. These discussions likely delved into strategic matters, including counterterrorism efforts and the potential role Russia could play in bolstering Niger's security apparatus. The visit by the Russian delegation carried symbolic significance, as it occurred mere months after the military coup that ousted President Mohamed Bazoum. The warm reception accorded to the Russian officials by the military leaders signaled Niger's shift away from its traditional Western partners and its embrace of Russia as a new ally in the region. In a move that further strained relations with the West, particularly the United States, Niger's military government made the bold decision to order American troops to leave the country. This decision effectively canceled a long-standing security pact that had been in place since 2012, granting the U.S. military a presence in Niger to support counterterrorism operations in the Sahel region. The reasons behind this move are multifaceted. Firstly, it can be viewed as an assertion of sovereignty by the new military rulers, who seek to distance themselves from the influence of Western powers and forge their own path. By expelling American troops, the military leaders aim to demonstrate their autonomy and control over Niger's affairs. Secondly, the decision aligns with Niger's pivot towards Russia, which has been actively courting African nations and presenting itself as an alternative to Western influence. By aligning itself with Russia, Niger may be seeking to gain access to Russian military aid, intelligence support, and potential economic cooperation. There may have been underlying dissatisfaction with Western partners, particularly the United States and France, whose military presence and counterterrorism strategies in the region have faced criticism for their perceived ineffectiveness in curbing the spread of jihadist groups. Amid these shifting alliances and power dynamics in the Sahel region, reports have emerged suggesting that Iran is actively seeking ways to expand its presence and influence in Africa. Niger, with its strategic location and natural resources, has emerged as a potential partner for Iran in this endeavor. The implications of such cooperation could be far-reaching. Niger possesses significant uranium reserves, a strategic resource that could be of interest to Iran's nuclear program. While Niger has stated that it rejects allegations of signing a secret agreement on uranium with Iran, the possibility of future cooperation cannot be ruled out entirely. If Niger were to engage in uranium trade or other forms of cooperation with Iran, it could raise concerns among Western nations and further strain already tense relations. The international community has long been wary of Iran's nuclear ambitions, and any potential access to Niger's uranium reserves could be seen as a threat to regional and global security. Moreover, increased Iranian involvement in Niger could serve as a foothold for Tehran's broader ambitions in Africa. Iran may seek to leverage its ties with Niger to gain access to other African nations, potentially forming alliances and expanding its sphere of influence on the continent. This potential partnership could also have economic implications. They may offer Niger investments, trade deals, or assistance in various sectors, such as energy, infrastructure, or mining. However, such cooperation could also raise concerns about the potential for sanctions evasion or the funneling of funds to support Iran's controversial activities. It is crucial to note that the extent of Iran's involvement in Niger and the specifics of any potential agreements remain speculative at this point. However, the mere possibility of such cooperation has raised eyebrows among regional and international actors, who remain vigilant about the potential implications for security, stability, and the balance of power in the volatile Sahel region. Niger's recent actions, including strengthening ties with Russia and expelling Western forces, have undoubtedly strained its relationship with the economic community of West African states. In the aftermath of the coup that ousted President Mohamed Bazoum, ECOWAS swiftly condemned the military takeover and demanded the restoration of constitutional order. The bloc warned of imposing tough sanctions if the military leaders failed to reinstate the democratically elected government within a week. When the leaders defied these demands, ECOWAS followed through with its threats, implementing a range of economic and diplomatic sanctions against Niger. These sanctions have had a significant impact on Niger's already fragile economy. Trade restrictions and the closure of borders with neighboring ECOWAS countries have disrupted supply chains and hindered the flow of essential goods and services. Financial and economic measures, such as the freezing of assets and suspension of aid programs, have further exacerbated Niger's economic woes. In response to these punitive measures, Niger's military rulers have sought to align themselves more closely with Russia and other non-Western partners. This strategic shift can be seen as an attempt to counterbalance the pressure from ECOWAS and mitigate the effects of the sanctions by seeking alternative sources of support and economic cooperation. By embracing Russia, Niger may be hoping to secure economic and military assistance that could help alleviate the strain caused by ECOWAS sanctions. Russia, with its vast resources and geopolitical ambitions, has been actively courting African nations and presenting itself as an alternative to Western influence. This alignment could provide a lifeline and a means to assert its sovereignty in the face of regional pressure in Niger. However, it is essential to note that the tensions between Niger and ECOWAS go beyond the immediate sanctions. The coup itself has been a source of contention, as ECOWAS is committed to upholding democratic principles and condemning unconstitutional changes of government. The bloc has repeatedly called for the restoration of constitutional order and the reinstatement of President Bazoum, demands that have been consistently rejected by the military leaders. It is worth noting that Mali and Burkina Faso have also experienced military coups in recent years and have aligned themselves with Niger's junta. These three countries have formed an alliance called the Alliance of Sahel States, further complicating the dynamics within the regional bloc. Amidst these tensions, there have been speculations that the lifting of ECOWAS sanctions could potentially pave the way for reconciliation between Niger and the regional bloc. However, such a move would likely come with conditions, such as the military government's commitment to holding democratic elections and restoring constitutional order within a specific time frame. It is crucial to acknowledge that the situation in Niger involves various stakeholders with differing interests and priorities. While ECOWAS has taken a firm stance against the coup and imposed sanctions, it is also cognizant of the potential consequences of prolonged instability in Niger, which could have ripple effects across the region. The resolution of the crisis in Niger will likely require a delicate balance of regional diplomacy, dialogue, and a willingness to find common ground among all parties involved. The lifting of sanctions by ECOWAS could serve as an incentive for the Niger government to engage in meaningful negotiations and pave the way for a peaceful transition towards democratic governance. However, any such concessions would need to be accompanied by credible commitments from the military leaders to respect the will of the Nigerian people and adhere to democratic principles. The dynamics within ECOWAS itself, as well as the influence of external actors like Russia, will play a crucial role in shaping the outcome of this crisis. The recent security cooperation negotiations between President Putin and the military ruler of Niger demonstrate how international relations are changing and how common interests are being pursued. Although some could view this involvement as alarming or a sign of a change in allegiance, it's critical to address the subject from a nuanced standpoint. Like any other independent country, Niger is entitled to diplomatic talks and alliances that advance its interests as a nation. Countries frequently look to cooperate in several areas, including security in an increasingly interconnected globe. Such discussions may have a variety of reasons, including political, strategic, and economic ones. As a result, when examining these changes, the larger geopolitical context must be taken into account. Do you think this phone call will go a long way in strengthening ties with the two countries? Let us know what you think in the comments below. Do not forget to like this video and subscribe to the New Tourist channel. Turn on notifications too so you get notified whenever we upload videos like this. Thanks for watching and see you in our next video.